These are just a few of the many BITSian startups you're probably familiar with. Entrepreneurship is synonymous with BITSian culture. This ecosystem expects, respects, and rewards innovation. That's why the super hype zero attendance policy exists. It's not meant for you to bunk boring classes. It's to facilitate the creative process of the game changers that come out of this institution. What do we do at CEL? Well, we help you reach these people. We provide a forum to enthusiasts to discuss and learn about entrepreneurship. We bring together the dreamers and identify the winners and help them write their startup success stories.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for showing such tremendous response for this event. During our childhood, we always had a dream of being showcased on a television show. It gives us national recognition as well as appreciation from the peers. Today, our alumni have made us proud again. We would like to congratulate founders of Thinkable Labs who have successfully raised funding for their startup from Shark Tank India, a reality show which is every entrepreneur's dream. Thinkable Labs is a tech-driven organization building innovative and accessible products that improve learning outcomes for the visually impaired. Their flagship innovation, Annie, is the world's first braille literacy device that helps visually impaired people learn to read, write, and type in braille on their own in any medium of instructions. The venture is also backed by Anand Mahindra, Let's Venture, and India Angel Network. On Shark Tank India, Thinkable Labs recently raised 1.05 crores of funding for 3% equity with three sharks: Peyush Bansal, founder and CEO of Lenskart; Namita Thapar, MQR Executive Director; and Anupam Mittal, Shadi.com and People Group founder. Now let me introduce the founders of Thinkable Labs. Sanskriti Davle, CEO and co-founder of Thinkable Labs and a 2016 graduate of BITS Goa. Aman Srivastav, COO and co-founder of Thinkable Labs and a 2016 graduate of BITS Goa. Dilip Ramesh, CTO and co-founder of Thinkable Labs and a 2016 graduate of BITS Goa. And Saif Sheikh, CIO and co-founder of Thinkable Labs and a 2017 graduate of BITS Goa. For today's panel discussion, our moderator will be young and dynamic Ratin Shah, CEO and co-founder of Spenny and also BITS Goa alumni from the batch of 2011 to 2015. Ratin shares a very strong bond with the team Thinkable, both starting their entrepreneurial journey at the same time on campus. Interestingly, Ratin helped team Thinkable with the stay in London. So I won't take much of your time, guys, and let's roll to the interesting part. Over to you, Ratin.
Hello, thank you so much for inviting me for the pretty last minute, but that's how startups work. Today evening is about Thinkable Labs. So first of all, congratulations to the amazing founders and the entire team, because nothing happens without a big team. Sanskriti, Aman, Dilip, Saif, but also more importantly, all the others of the Thinkable team who are not on the call, and their efforts, because we know it takes a village to raise a startup, and it's been their efforts put together. So yes, congratulations first of all on being listed, on coming on national television, Shark Tank India. It's obviously a wonderful achievement, but also for the impact that you're creating actually with the product. The fact that you want to now grow global, the global ambitions that you have, the tie-up with the US company, I think it's definitely a step in the right direction. But so yes, clearly as Sanskriti mentions, it's the Braille's iPhone moment, and I think that's no one better to capture it than you guys right now. With that being said, I was just informed that there are like a list of questions. I think I have the list right now. So the people from CEL have or CEL or the other people who are participating in the call today had decided to put in a lot of the questions together, and we're going to the format is going to be, I'm going to be moderating these questions, and then any one of you can take the question as you feel, whoever is the best place to answer it, and then we can take it forward from there. Before we begin, I was on, like, just a quick intro. I was also on the other side when back in 2013, I think, I was the president of CEL, And we used to have other people like of CEL BITS Goa, and we used to have other entrepreneurs and other people coming, inviting them on the call. I mean, although that was in person, but inviting them and then, getting them to sort of deliver their talks or their experiences. And I am so proud now to say that now, I'm like on the other side of the table, and I have my friends who've done some amazing things now sharing their experiences with us. So again, kind of like a surreal moment, but here we go. First question, which I am assuming that these questions are kind of in the order of how, like the order of importance or the most frequently asked questions. So I'm going to start off with the first one. I open to all four of you. Why did you guys choose this specific idea to begin a startup with, of the among plethora of ideas that exist today, or the plethora of opportunities that exist today? It takes, you've not chosen an easy battle for yourself. It's already a difficult battle to start a startup. Marry that with a hardware company in a space like accessibility. You just playing with fire. So the first question I think from people is, why did you guys choose this specific idea to begin with?
Hey Ratan, Dilip here. I mean, young and dynamic was your introduction. I couldn't agree more. Really happy to see you here. It's been quite some time, but completely agree that we've had a long-standing association with Ratan from when we were on campus. And I think I've known Ratan outside of Thinkerbell Labs as well on various of the projects that we've done. So coming to why we picked this particular problem to start working on, I think we all have our different reasons for why we got into it and why we continue to work on it. But when Aman and Sanskriti got into it and started with the first idea back in 2014, it was a tech problem that had a social impact associated with it, or rather I would say tech solution that had a social impact associated with it. So it started off as, I think, an individual project, which was more to do with implementing certain technologies that we were learning in adjacent spaces, which were underlooked and not in mainstream or in the limelight. And the kind of feedback that we got from very early prototypes, very early stage prototypes, with wires falling out of it and them being placed in tiffin boxes and things like that. Even with that, when we took them to blind schools, we could see kids who were in class 5, class 6 playing with it for long periods of time. And that's when we realized that there's not a lot happening in this space. So I mean, as engineers, we take certain things for granted, saying, oh, early literacy, early education, these things should be there. And then when we saw the ground reality, realized there's a huge gap here, and we started digging further. That was the start process, where it started. But what's kept us together, and like you said, not just the four of us, but the rest of the Thinkable Labs team as well, is that this is in the very sweet spot of tech for good. Of course, all companies deliver an impact in anything that they do. It could be e-commerce, it could be automobile, anything. But for us, this thing that at the end of the day, it's going towards solving a major global problem that's sort of not being looked at by most people. It's been kept away for multiple reasons. So those things have always inspired us, saying we're doing something new in a space where nobody has done it before, and also driving large scale impact with that. I think that's what got us into it and is what keeping us together. I'm sure Aman, Sanskriti, Saif might have a few other answers. Would love to hear that. But over the years, this is what we've told each other, and this is what has kept us together as well. So I have no reason to believe none of this is not true.
Nice. No, definitely, I understand. Sanskriti, would you like to add something?
Yeah, hi Ratan. And also just want to add to what Dilip said. I think we got into it because we are excited about the technology and the impact it would create. For me personally, what keeps me going is the people. I love working with the team I work with. It is amazing to work with such a passionate bunch of people. There is nothing like it. And once you start that, you can't quite go to working on things that you don't really care about, I feel. So that is an active choice an entrepreneur makes every day. So for me, consistently, it is the team and it is the people that we work with. It's always exciting. I think as we scale, maybe that changes, but I mean, that changes because earlier you're working with early adopters of a technology. Again, that's a very great segment of people to talk to every day. So we're definitely in that phase. As the company scales, I'm sure we'll come across like, early majority, late majority, that sort of thing. But it's just really exciting work with really great people. So I mean, there is a social impact, but for me personally, this is literally the best thing that I want to do every day. So sounds a bit but personal. That is my personal motivation.
Love it. No, love it. Aman?
Yeah, so I just wanted to add like two things. I think from a user point of view, at least when we started, like putting college into perspective, we started, as Dilip also mentioned, we took one prototype. It sort of started as a research project. We'll do something in HCI. We'll see whether we can teach children faster. That was like a sort of like my research with Sanskriti back then was just that. It was a research project. But when we actually went to a school, we saw and we realized very quickly that as sighted students, we have had the numerous resources to study and learn while playing. Itne sare resources rahe hain, and that's when we realized there was stark contrast. And I think that's where we started asking questions. Hey, why does this not exist for this particular segment? And I think that's where it started, the idea building. And the business side of things is that slowly we realized that after doing a lot of validation that yes, there could be a business here as well. So I think that those two together became a very strong motivator and reason why we took this up. It is as you mentioned, playing with fire, because it is many different difficult levels. But we also realized that some technological changes are sort of enabling building right now than before. So because of which we also rode that wave. I think in any other session that we've taken before, we've said, we did this Raspberry Pi workshop back then. It was important that at that point of time, there needs to be a credit card size computer who can do what we wanted to do, and use that for teaching, which is something that was not possible like 10 years back, 20 years back. So that's also, I feel, was a huge factor outside of us realizing potential of current available technology and making the most out of that. Yeah.
Makes sense. Chef?
Yeah. So one thing you said, Ratan, just adding to that, building a company here and marrying that with having an hardware product and working specifically in the field of accessibility. So what got me really into this, and my answer would differ from all three of them, and I would answer like an honest mechanical engineer. Is the challenge in itself the Braille technology that kept me hooking, right? So Braille is such a small system, and then you got to fit in 6 dots and under 1 fingertips, and to make a mechanically moving system that wherein you could have a Braille display. And the challenge of building that deep tech is something that always kept me engaging, and that really added the entire fun over the years, building the product or improving its specs, getting the quality right, getting the production right. So that was, one major part, definitely. Of course, when you go to a deployment, when you go to meet a customer, user, all of that definitely adds to the delight. But the major motivator is the engineer within me, which
Yeah.
from the
Ratan,
college.
to your comment on playing with fire, picking a hardware product, I would like to say we have a CEF. Hardware is not that daunting when you have someone like CEF on your team.
Thank you.
Now a firefighter. Absolutely. Great. Okay. So we're going to do a couple of things. I've been receiving some comments, and I've been receiving instructions from the CEL team as well, because everything's pretty, last minute. But here's how we're going to do it. To the people who are on the call, please keep putting your questions on the comment section, in the chat. And what we can do is that we can keep picking up the questions which are most frequently asked from the chat, and we'll keep asking the the guests. So that's one thing. And to the Thinkerbell team, I have one request, which is that this is your pitch mode, and this is your honest, brutal, truthful mode. All of us today want the second one. You're not on Shark Tank. So what I'd request you to, because here's why. Because I think most of us, including myself, and I know that, I mean, because by virtue of running a company, for a fact that you always have a mode, and that's a pitch mode. And when you get into that, that's a different zone. Oftentimes, you won't be able to reveal most of the things. I think with the people that we have today, I think one good thing can be is that we can let's try and be as honest as possible with the question, with the answers, so that they actually get to know like what actually it means to run a company, and even I can sort of add my inputs to it if possible. And if you want, I can actually what I'll do is that I'll request them to stop the recording, so that you can just go berserk with your unfiltered views. So because that I think would be a super good value add to everyone on the call. So yeah, that's my request to you guys. For everyone else, please keep putting your questions in the yes chat window. Okay, great. With that being said, let's start with a little bit of a story. Anyone of you, would you mind taking us through the journey of the initial days? It is said that if you can survive with every 100 passing days in a startup, your chances of survival increases by a factor of 10. And therefore your first 100 days is probably the most critical, then the next 100, the next 100, the next 100. And so it's not really a question from anybody else, but I think that everyone would love to know your actual brutal day-to-day journey in the first 100 days, and then the next 100, and the next 100, for up until at least the first year. So yeah, take it away.
Sanskriti, would you like to take this?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so well, I don't know what to call the first 100 days, because I think I've been working on this since my 2-1, which is my third semester in college. So a lot of phases before it even became a company. But and I think what keeps you going from one phase to the next phase always keeps changing. So you need to drive that alignment personally as well. At one point it was, okay, this looks like an exciting thing, ye tech exciting lag raha hai, let's do it. Then it's, okay, this is a legitimate technical challenge and we've hit the limits of where our software is taking us. We need to find a hardware guy. Luckily, Saif had entered the college by then. So then it's, literally one of the times when he had made a product, before Saif came on scene, Aman and I were building prototypes in tiffin boxes with heated knives, trying to make holes in it to make the wires come in and out. And I remember one instance from college where Saif had painstakingly designed a 3D printed box. And this one time something wasn't fitting in it. So I took a knife and heated it. Actually, it was soldering iron. I took a soldering iron and heated it, and I made a hole in it. And Saif,
I can see him cringing even right now.
Yeah.
He wouldn't talk to me for 3 days saying, how could you do this? So there's a lot of understanding of each other's domains. I guess some part of that is also about being a student, learning on the job, and you just don't know. You don't know a lot of things. So having that, learning attitude for yourself, for other people in your team, understanding this is something you're discovering together, I think that's critical. And at the risk of sounding cliched, it is so important to be friends with the people that you're making a company with. So important, because on a tough day, that is what will keep you going. You'll be really mad, and that is what will keep you going. You'll be really sad, and that is what will keep you going, because it doesn't feel like a heavy burden of work. It feels like, hey, I'm off for a day of fun with my friends. And so in college, that is what it felt like. I saw a question by someone, how did you balance your studies? I think all 4 of us have different answers, but my answer is I didn't balance my studies. So a big thank you to the 0 attendance policy at BITS, because I didn't balance my studies. I didn't have to. I just had to pass my exams, and that's a huge privilege. So yeah, I mean, for me, college life was about, I found something interesting that kept my passion going. And every day I used to work, get out of hostel, before I came back at 12 o'clock. Yes, that was a rule back when I was in college. Girls had to go back to the hostel. I'm very
They
glad.
don't have that anymore?
They don't have that anymore.
What are you saying, dude?
It happened in the last year, Nitin.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm old, man. I graduated in 20. Wait, when did you graduate? You guys graduated 2016, right?
Yeah, 1 year after you did, right?
Yeah, I graduated 2015.
Yeah. I think Saif is next year.
Yeah. In
2017.
last semester into 2016 December, they scrapped it off.
Jesus. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Actually, there's a startup tune that comes on Annie as soon as you turn it on, and we had to record something after that, which says something like "Hi, I'm Annie." So the voice on Annie is Sanskritis, and this was at 12:20. 12:30 was the end time for girls at that point in time. This was 12:20 in the night, and we are recording it because we had to send something out the next day. So we did one take because that's all the time we had. Until today, we use that same audio clip in all our production systems.
One take is all it takes for you.
One
guys,
take, yeah, absolutely.
clearly. No, super interesting. Great. No, this is very interesting. Another question which I had, and I think a lot of people also in the crowd also have, is how do you actually convert this from a project to a startup? And I think because I remember sort of Aman and you, especially in the, I guess maybe Dilip and Saif were also there, but Aman and you specifically going to Canada for to sort of, present this project, I think in your second year or third year, and then you decided to convert that into a startup. My question is, at what point did you decide this is startup worthy? How did you decide that?
oh, definitely in our third year, because in the third year I think first we presented in a developers conference, then we wrote a research paper on it, and we also entered NVC with it. And those are clearly three different ways to tackle it, right? There were three different outcomes for it. And I truly enjoyed NVC the most.
Yeah.
Because any effort I put in, I could see that it will have some realization. I mean, research, I think, is a much longer game. You'll work 20, 30 years on something, and maybe it stays in the lab, maybe it gets out. And I have a great fondness for fundamental innovation and technological advances. All of us do. So a company is literally called Thinkerbell Labs. We want it to be the birthplace of innovation, but we don't want it to end in the lab. We want it to go out there in the world. And for that reason, doing it as our own company seemed like the best bet. While we were still in college, we did receive a lot of advice along the lines of, you guys have a great idea, pitch it to a larger company that can do this better than you. And we did pitch to a couple of companies saying, this is our idea and, can we make it big? But I am yet to meet someone that is more passionate about brain literacy than I am.
No, absolutely.
I want to
I
add
don't know
here, Ratin, just so like that was a big trigger. Like we wrote a research paper, okay, and we went there, and I mean, you were asking us to be honest, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
literally, at least for me and Sanskriti, one thing that intersects is कुछ अगर बनाया है तो वो बाहर जाना चाहिए, वो अंदर रख के. That is not why we are here. Like we are here to build things and send it out in the market. And in that in that particular conference, we realized that there was a lot of innovations, a lot of inventions that we know for sure it is going to be inventions. They are never going to see the light of day. So that day we decided, we have to build and we have to put it out there, whatever case. And that has been our guiding principle. And I think that's where we first started looking at, okay, what are the various options, where we did explore कि हाँ कोई और company के साथ, license out the technology, just, someone bigger, better, more resourced can do it. We did consider that option. But post that, we started realizing कि अच्छा, like maybe we should probably do it ourselves. And that's where NVC came in and all fell together post that.
I mean, just to add to that, this is, I think we've continuously tried to walk the talk as well with this aspect, saying we want to build stuff that people use, not just stuff that ends up in cupboards, for example. So when we visited the first few schools we visited, they opened their cupboards and showed us prototypes and technologies that other people had built and had gotten to them. And they said, look, we have so many of these, but we don't know how to use them. We don't know how they work. Somebody gave it to us and we've just kept it because they donated it to us. So we actually built a few features which today are, one of our most sought after ones, which is about the data collection, data analytics suite that goes with it, because we wanted to provide that cross stakeholder visibility to anybody, irrespective of whether they knew Braille or not, because the guiding principle behind that was we did not want this to end up in a cupboard because they didn't know how to use it, or they didn't know how to, use Braille. So I think it's been a guiding thing for us throughout, where we've taken a lot of major decisions based on this, saying what we want, what we do, what we build to go out there and actually serve a purpose.
Yeah. So, I mean, in line of the question that you asked, right, there was one crossroad that we had reached, I think, in my third year, in Aman Sanskriti's second year, wherein we were considering whether we should go and build a startup or should this be a not-for-profit, and we build or manufacture the device via maker workshops and try to get it to the beneficiaries, the users, in the least cost possible. So, and when we were again students back then, and we thought, hey, we're also inclined to do something socially, and we build some technology, maybe business or building a startup around this might not be the best case. But when I look back at those days from today, like we are all really glad that we choose to build a for-profit, startup out of this, because again, not trying to sound very philosophical here, economically philosophical here, but capitalism is one of the most efficient, effective, and sustainable way to, kind of build anything. And this is something we have kind of over the time looked for in our investors as well. People who are bought in the idea of conscious capitalism. And also I see that this kind of segment and area is also developing in India, wherein a lot of for-profit social enterprises are coming up. So we could see a lot of development happening in more and more sustainable way.
Got it. Yeah, makes sense. In fact, the great segue that you mentioned of the capitalism point, which kind of takes me to what I wanted to also, a question that I wanted to bring about. I think it's a question somewhere by some of the people also, but more importantly as well, my question as well, which is that in the initial days, frugality is what really matters. Thanks. No, that's fine. So being frugal, I think, is extremely critical, because I mean, you're not going to get investment on day zero. And until you put a MVP out or something out, until you actually raise money, it's extremely critical, especially when you are in college, because I mean, we don't have money to go to Monji and or Ice and Spice get an Oreo shake, but I mean, you have to run a startup, so of course you have to be frugal. Many people, I think most people on the call might not know this, and this is a story that Sanskriti narrated to me quite early, is that the culture sets from the founders. And the story about how Saif had to basically, I think there was some, they had some limitation as to the travel restriction. They had some limitation as to the time in which they had to travel. Saif was, I think, supposed to go from Goa to Mumbai, or from Mumbai to Goa.
Oh yeah, that's
and
go.
Yeah, and I personally don't know Saif so much, but I know the story, and that was all I needed to know about the character of the founders and the company culture that sets. Is that he didn't have I think he didn't have enough sort of money for the ticket, but he still managed. Why? Because that's what founders do. You manage with whatever the fuck you have. And you figure things out. You figure your way out. It doesn't matter. And that sets the tone for what you need to do. Because here's the thing: whenever you're going, especially as people who are running like companies, even that was the case for me as well when I was starting Spenny. Again, I think it's true, because at the start you're going against big corporations with like millions of dollars in budget. There's no way you're going to compete on money. If money is what you're competing on, you're already lost. And therefore frugality matters, and therefore creativity matters. My question to all, like in general, any one of you can pick up, is that could you tell some wonderful examples that you remember in your journey to the crowd? Could you share with the crowd where you have the financial sort of the limitation of you being a startup has helped you come up with creative solutions, and how you figured that out? Any instances where that has happened, basically?
be friends with people who'll be investment bankers in the cities you plan to expand to, so you can crash in their homes when you explore those countries. But yeah, I mean, literally, I think that's also a great example. I think you play to your strengths. So whatever strengths that you do, money is obviously not your strength. So what strengths can you leverage? You can leverage friends, family, and I'm yes, some of it manifests as a friends and family initial startup thing, but you're not going to build a big company off of family money.
Yeah.
So um so yeah, making, having friends, having a network of people who believe in you, who want to see you succeed, absolutely a priority. And in terms of examples, I would say all of us have at times. I mean, we started from Aman's parents' apartment in Bangalore. At one point, there were 13 team members that were living in a 3 BHK, and we didn't have much money to pay. So we were paying a token salary, and we were just ensuring everyone's boarding and lodging was taken care of. So I'm not saying this saying, oh, look, we are so awesome. I think every company starts off like this. And it is because at every stage, and I think that's a mindset you need to carry. Your circumstances will change, but your mindset has to remain the same, where you have the cash to operate at this level and you're trying to accomplish something at this level. And it's only with that consistent leap ahead mindset that you'll ever get there. So I don't know. This sob stories, but think of examples. But I feel like that's very natural in the startup world.
One is looking at job stories, right, Samsidi? But the other thing, which is I think a lot of it comes from you and how you try to build this aspect of our business, is that right from day one, we've been applying to business plan competitions everywhere. We've done so much of it. Our first 2 years, we did not have a product, right? We're still building it. And all the revenue that we had by which we sustained was through prize money that we had won at different competitions. We've had like 50,000 rupees to 2 lakh, 3 lakh that we started out with. And the thing is, you never know, what sort of clicks where, because this is one creative way of keeping the company going, that you go to business plan competitions. We used to go pitch well, get a prize, and then we used to get some money out of it. Of course, this money usually comes 2-3 months later. We were also at Conquest in 2016, if I remember correctly. So in one such competition in Ranchi, was it? Or Ranchi or Kolkata, I don't remember, but the planning commissioner of Jharkhand was in the jury. He saw the product and said, I want this for a school in Ranchi, can you make it happen? And that was the first sale that we got. You see, so a creative solution for money sort of turned into our first customer. And Ranchi has been one of our sort of cornerstones of our entire story, around which we've built a new product variant called Any Smart Clutch, which is what we're going out there with today. We started with one in 2018. Today, we have about 50 of them across the country in 16 states. So that's something that came via creativity of sustaining and getting money throughout. And even today, we have a team member who's constantly looking at what sort of business plan competitions can we go to. Obviously, the scale has changed now. Now we're looking at more strategic ones like large scale grants or international grants and strategic partnerships that we could go to. But that aspect has remained. Like she said, it doesn't change because we've grown out of where we were before, but that creativity will continue to go through. So it's easy to sit back and say, hey, I didn't get funding. This investor said no, what do we do now? But there are always ways of making this happen. And we've done this throughout. So when we raised our second round of funding, to be brutally honest, we had so many no's from people. Our runway was done. We were out of money. And I remember we sat in this one coffee day with the investor from our first round, and he was saying, not just in a few of us in the team were like, okay, I think it's time to look at alternatives for us because nothing is happening, right? And then we're like, no, let's just keep at it and see what happens. And we picked up one of these angel groups. We scouted each person in their member list, reached out to them on LinkedIn, found out their contact details, and literally called about 350-400 people. And then the round went live, and we had oversubscribed that round in 3 weeks from then. So again, there's always a way out. So it's about how resilient you can be till you find that way and get out of it. Like you said, creativity plays a huge role here.
Makes sense. Yeah, no, super interesting. I mean, it's one of those things where when your back's against the wall, there's only literally one way. which is ahead, and then therefore that forces you to sort of come up with creative solutions. We've seen this time and time again in pretty much every successful startup, pretty much the startup that you run, the startup I run, or every other startup that is even in the building phase. So I think that's a part and parcel of the journey. Next question. This is not really a question so much as I'm taking this to another section of startup building, which is co-founders and the responsibilities. When I started spending, I think the idea was very clear that we wanted somebody to build and somebody to sell. That's it. There are only two elements of the company, the building and the selling. I knew that I can take care of the selling part. I want somebody to build. And that is how I had found Gaurav, my co-founder. What I want to ask you is, what was your philosophy? Because I also understand that it gets increasingly harder with every new co-founder as well. Why? Because there are now, obviously 4 opinions. With due respect to everyone's opinion, at the end of the day, the company has to move in one direction and not 4. Therefore, it's increasingly difficult to sort of come to a consensus after a point. However, not only have you guys managed to do that, you've managed to actually thrive. It seems like you have a wonderful distribution of responsibilities between amongst you. So that's one thing which I think all of us can learn from. So I think, and on this one, I'd really like an honest input of all 4 of you, which is, in your head, according to you, how did you guys decide the division of labor, for the lack of a better word? And how do you come to consensus on big decisions?
Okay, a few things. I think this is something where probably all 4 of us can answer, but I think this also goes back to your previous question of, and I think I can see in the chat as well, many people asking, where did you learn how to run a company and things like that, right? A lot of our learning did happen on campus via NVC, and just us trying out different things, talking to a lot of BITS seniors. The BITS network is great for everybody watching. A lot of entrepreneurs, everybody's super helpful, eager to help. We literally had a call with a BITSian today morning. And the connect is just, oh, BITSian, it's a Spider-Man meme, BITSian happens, and then you start talking. That's about it. There's not much else needed there. And it could be someone, at any level, right? So I think a lot of our learning also happened in the first year of our operations, where we went out and we were, very, very sort of, how do I say, very proud that we had just started a company and they're working on this, and very confident, went and pitched to a few investors and they all said no. And we were quite taken aback. We're like, what do you mean no? I mean, it's great. What do you mean no? That is the first response, right? As new entrepreneurs, you don't really get into that groove very quickly, that after pitching to 100 people, maybe 2-3 of them convert, be whatever product it may be. So then we started working with a couple of these mentors who are still with us today, and we learned a lot in that process. Very simple things if you look back and think about it, but I think those, at that point, that learning was very crucial for us. So one thing that stands out is, even if we disagree on whatever it is that we want to do, at the end of the meeting, we're going to commit to whatever has been decided. So this was something that was probably going south for us at that point in time in 2016, but was quickly set right. And since then, we have not had any issues with this, even if we disagree, which we almost always do. I think somebody asked about rivalry. There's definitely rivalry. You can't run a business without rivalry. Please make sure you have internal rivalry, because you will not see all sides of the coin if you don't have internal rivalry. But yeah, it's about committing to what's been decided at the end of the day, because you're in the same boat, right? It can't move in 2 different directions. So that's been instilled very deeply in us, and we've ensured it has moved from us to everybody else in the team as well. So it's something we follow. So we actually look at it as a strength that there are 4 of us, and not really as an issue, because yeah, we do get a lot of ideas, a lot of differing ones, but that's great. There's nothing wrong about it, because we get to see 4 different opinions about everything that we do. But at the end of the day, we have a very good mechanism where we don't vote on things, which is, according to me, a very archaic concept to say yes, no, and proceed. But we work till there's consensus. We all logical, so we try to see each other's logic and then try to work on them and come to consensus. This ego needs to be out of the meeting room at any point in time. You cannot take decisions with ego next to you. So that's how we've mostly worked on our decision making. In terms of our internal division of responsibilities, it depends, it changes from time to time. With respect to major responsibility, like for example, Sanskriti is CEO. So a lot of the outside facing communication is done by her. So she's the face of the organization. There are a lot of merits which are inherent to who she is and what she brings to the table. So we don't want to change any of those things. So those remain constant throughout. So some of these things we saw when we set out saying there are these trends that individuals bring. So let's put these out there. And then internally, we have shifting responsibilities. For example, previous round of investment, second round of investment, I was leading that. Now Aman has been leading investment for quite some time. So if it's anything to do with investment, then obviously Aman has a lot more context. So he mods those conversations. And we understand that there might be some things where I might not have the complete picture. So I'm happy to go by what Aman is saying because that level of trust is there amongst all of us. So similarly, we have divisions in the product as well. I think Seth and I worked very well when it was about electronics, hard, mechanical, and software, because we had a good hold on who's good at what. So it was very easy to say, hey, I don't know how to do this. This is your call, or vice versa. So that's how it's been throughout. And even now, if very easy for us for anyone to come in. So for example, I was looking at sales for a while, and it wasn't really not something I enjoyed. So I came and said, look, guys, I don't want to do sales anymore. And we immediately changed it. Somebody else picked it up. So we have that flexibility and leeway. So that's a huge advantage because there are 4 of us in the team.
Makes sense.
I just want to say one thing. Like Dilip said, 4 people, excellent communication, discipline, and rigor. Very, very important. I'd like to point out one real-time example. Before this particular call started, we decided internally that Dilip would be modding the conversation among the 4 of us. So
Right.
that's another example. I mean, otherwise it's always 4 people talking, and it's all very weird. So before we set into a conversation also, I think, and this is something we've developed over the years and by trial and error as well, saying, okay, this is usually good practice to go like this. And yeah, I just want to share that example.
Yeah, no, makes sense. Absolutely.
Just wanted to add a few things. I think what Dilip said about changing responsibilities. So I think that's key here. I mean, I'm glad, Ratin, you have a very clear build and sell. I think in our first year of operation, maybe we had that much, but it has changed a lot over the years. Right. And I think as more and more people join the team, at least the 4 of us have also like taken up different things as and when the company needed it. Like, I mean, even I think 4 of us maybe ऐसा नहीं है कि अब केवल Saif और Dilip, but like they're just building. They're also selling, they're also deploying. Everybody is selling, deploying, whatever the company needs as of now. The movement of responsibility happens at a cadence. कि जहाँ currently I think इस साल के लिए मैं ये देख लेता हूँ because of XYZ reasons. But in the start, literally when this was just Sanskriti and me, both of us were building, both of us were doing some selling. Post that, we took a conscious decision college ke baad that we will put Sanskriti ahead for all external things. That streamlines the POC model as well. कि मतलब जो भी बाहर से आ रहा है, they have one person to connect with, and so that is how we did that. But over the course of time, Sanskriti and I were just selling, and then now Dilip and Saif are also just selling. So it changes. Like, what are you selling? It changes. Whether it's the stock of the company or the product, it changes.
Makes sense. Absolutely. Saif, can I have your input on this one?
I mean, I kind of agree with everything what they have said, and we actually wanted to convey this in a far better way, but came out funnily on the Shark Tank. The CEO. But yeah, what we did want to convey is the fluidity that we have internally in terms of the roles that we pick, and that as a founder, having that always is very important. And what that also means is that no decisions are vetoed. So when you have well-defined कि ये मेरा domain है, ये मेरा domain है, I'm responsible for sales, I'm responsible for product. If you have that fully rigid structure, then it kind of brings in a veto. So although we do respect each other's expertise, but still all decisions are still taken in kind of consensus. So that's kind of really important to have in any team.
Makes sense. Absolutely. Yeah. Wow, it's rare to see that kind of a camaraderie between all the founders at all the times. But I mean, I'm sure it's not an easy journey. There are ups and downs. But the fact that at every major turning point or decision point, you have that level of understanding, I think that's great. That's the best. I really liked what you said, Dilip, about the internal rivalry thing, because I think it should be taken in the right spirit. And I think this is a lesson to everyone. Also, if anyone on the call has missed the point, I'd reiterate that, which he mentioned, that there should be some sort of an internal rivalry within the startup. And I think that's a very healthy way of putting, the internal company culture and the competition, the sense of urgency that you should have, especially as early stage founders, to reach to the next level when you're building from 0 to 1. That I don't think we could have put it in a better phrase than internal rivalry. So that nice. Definitely a good job on that. Great. Okay. I want to touch a few points. There are lots of questions. I went through a lot of them. There are a lot of questions. Otherwise, majorly speaking, I want to touch on 3 major sections. The first one being, how do you actually validate an idea? Like, do you have a scientific process to it? Do you have a method to your madness? Do you come up with, do you force it down in a room and you're like, all right, let's whiteboard some shitty ideas to start with, and then you go through some shitty ideas, then you realize, all right, these 5 are good ideas, and then you pick those 5 and then you try to build an MVP, and that's how you validate. What's your process of coming up with ideas and validating it? That's sort of the one section. After that, we'll move a little bit to fundraising. A lot of questions around that as well. How do you raise funds? Simple things like, how do you decide your valuation? When someone asks you कि यार तुम्हारे मतलब कितना percent equity and कितना पैसा raise कर रहे हो, how do you decide those things? Then we'll move to the hardware part of this, because that's the one thing which is so unique to you guys. And I'm sure that there are other mechanical engineers like Saif in the call, and I think they would love to know that opinion as to, because there are many IT startups, and it's you cannot hide the fact that hardware startups are difficult. So how do you go from 0 to 1 in that? So that's kind of like the broad areas that I want to cover. Let's start with the first one. How do you validate? How do you come up with ideas? How do you validate them? This question.
Okay. So I think method to madness is Aman's territory. I'm sure he has points lined up 1, 2, 3, 4. Would love him to take this investment. I'm sure we can all pitch in, but would love to hear from again Aman and Sanskriti. I can add a few points there as well. Hardware, I think the Mech guy can take it away.
Really good job on the mod. This is brilliant. I can see your plan in action. Aman, over to you, brother.
Yeah. So validating ideas. Sure. The one thing that we have learned is, as I think I've mentioned that before as well, go out there with something that you are embarrassed by and try to sell it. I mean, case in point, we did try to sell our cardboard prototype to a few companies to roll out. I can't believe we did that in 3rd year of college. We were like कि ये आप लीजिए, आप लगा दीजिए इंडिया में, इससे वैल्यू ऐड होता है, बट आप लगा दीजिए. Their feedback was, यार इसमें वायर निकल रहे हैं, इसको कैसे हम डिप्लॉय करें? So, and like literally, I think that is what I think that's one of the major things when you're validating. अपना bias हटाना and customer का input लगाना is the most important thing. So I feel like that the entire company, as now it has percolated to the entire company, that any product, that idea that we come up with, we try to get customers' viewpoint first, because that is most important. In the most, in the least effort and input way possible. सबसे कम effort में how can I collect that data? So that's I would say in the shortest way possible. Elevator pitch plus some prototype to validate your hypothesis. Those are the 2 things.
Just to add to what Aman was saying, I mean, theoretically, he's the king. I'll not touch that. But in terms of our own story, right, how we've approached it, I think Annie has been a slightly different story if you zoom out and look at it, because we've sort of been the category creators with Annie. There was no market that was handed to us on a platter, or something we went into where other people were playing. So, in a situation like this, I mean, a lot of places where when we went for feedback, it was absolutely brand new for these people, right? So it took us a fair bit of effort to try and expand their horizons on what's possible with technology, and how our tech intervention will help them, and what are the changes it will bring to their life. So there are a lot of early stage feedback, things like this product has low volume, so it will never be successful, things like that, which we've had to weed through, and we've had to learn how to take that feedback, what to make of that feedback, and all of those things that we've had to learn on the job. But one thing that we did last year when the pandemic hit was, Annie sort of took the backseat for a while. So we actually sat down and said, what else can we do? We have a great team. A lot of good inventions can come out of this. We have a lot of resources and network that we can tap into. What is it that we can do with it? So we actually brainstormed, pulled out 8 to 10 ideas, and we had a playbook of sorts to validate it, like Aman said, an elevator pitch, and something that we're embarrassed with, that we can take to people and talk to them about it. So we literally have about 8 to 10 prototypes built of different things, right? None of them, like Aman said, it's the equivalent of wires hanging out from it. People wouldn't buy it, but it's good enough for us, for us to paint a picture of what the product can do, which means they can then give us feedback. Otherwise, I'm just building sandcastles in the air, right? If I'm telling people it will be like this and sun will rise from the west, and I'm just building sandcastles otherwise. So if I make it and actually show, and they can visualize it, and they can visualize better and then give us feedback. So we've had quite a few of those. Then we started pruning them out because we did a lot of market research on top of it, saying people like it, people need it, how much are they willing to pay? So how do we do that? We ran large scale surveys. We looked at competitor products, even if they're not in the exact same space. If someone is paying X for say a bag of chips, and I'm making, say, some bhujia or something, it's same category. Obviously chips is not my immediate competitor, but my indirect competitor, so I can get a good idea of how much they spend on bhujia, and then I can put my pricing accordingly. So these are the things that we had learned from our experience with Annie, but it's widely different from how you would typically go with it, because it's a category creator and creating a new market. So I would say, I mean, of course, in jest, but don't try this at home. What we did with Annie, it is playing with fire when it comes to category creation. But if you do happen to crack it, it's amazing. To be on the other side, it's a steep climb, I would say.
Yeah, I think I can relate to when Aman, when you mentioned you handed out samples where the wires were hanging out quite literally. I think I know exactly what you mean. I mean, the first 1,000 users that we created that we had at Spenny, we didn't have a product or a fund. We didn't invest the money actually. I just sold them on the premise that we will invest. However, we actually did not. Here's the thing: we didn't even have a SEBI license at that point, and so quite technically illegally in the first few sort of weeks. But that's how startups roll, So I know when you say that you have to be embarrassed by your first version, and that's the takeaway here, in the sense that brainstorm some ideas, narrow it down, have an elevator pitch, and create an MVP that you're embarrassed by. Take it out to the market. The market will give you feedback. That's the well summarized answer for that. Awesome. I think we can then move to the second part, which is this one's probably going a little longer one, which is how do you approach fundraising? What is your strategy? How do you plan for things like how much money do you want to raise? How much runway do you want to have? What should be your valuation? What should be your asking rate? How much equity do you want to shed? And so what basically is the fundraising 101, and what was your approach to it basically?
Aman, if we can break this down into our internal process, as in who does what, internal role responsibilities for within fundraising, and second, the planning process, what all goes into it, and the execution, I think that would be a little convenient.
Cool. We'll break it down via that. So I think I'll just lead with a small story. I think this will very quickly give you context. I think a lot of people have been asking you, how did you meet Mr. Mahindra? How did you pitch to him? How did you get him on
That
board
is
as an
right.
investor?
Hence, yeah, yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So the small story is basically met him at an event that requires a much longer session, which we'll do later. But he committed on stage. Post which it took 9 months to actually close everything. So don't believe everything you see on TV. But no, the story goes, we had actually an ask of 6 crores or maybe 7 crores at that point of time.
Okay.
And we went to Mr. Mahindra's team with just our presentation. And we had done none of those things that Dilip just mentioned.
We didn't have a private limited back then.
We didn't have a private limited. Oh yeah, we.
So this is essentially a college project. At this point, it was just.
It's a college project. It's a bunch of fourth yearites who are like, ठीक है, Mr. Mahindra की team ने बुलाया है, चलो चलते हैं. And we literally have a presentation, and the presentation has an ask. There is some utilization plan, some basic plan, but that is how we ended up. And we were very, very lucky that their team saw that and saw, okay, theek hai. They didn't reject us on that. They were like, okay, I see where you're coming from. Let us help you here. So as of now, I'll take what Dilip said. I mean, so as of now, we as the 4 people, we plan our raises in a period, 12 months, 18 months, 12 or 18, and then we see all the goals that we want to achieve. The goals are set actually with the team. And these goals are then converted into an operational plan, post which you have the exact know-how of what money is required, when is it required by, how is it going to be spent. Post that, right now, the investment POC so what I am doing is always being on the lookout for investors, always talking to someone, maintaining some good relations with them. And when the day comes when we need the money, Sanskriti, we'll set up a call, Sanskriti pitches. If they're interested, they commit. We go ahead and, then the legal process starts. I don't think I'll touch upon the legal process much, but I think Sanskriti and Dilip and Saif, you could potentially add into the planning of it, because I think that's very critical for an early stage company. How do you plan how much you raise? I think if you could add there, that'll be great. Dilip, go ahead.
Yeah. So I think one thing that Aman spoke about is building goals for the next 12 to 18 months, right? So we sort of work backwards from there. Again, one disclaimer I want to say is this is how we do things. That doesn't mean this is how everybody should do things. This is something that's worked for us, so we continue to do it this way. But yeah, we make goals, and then we work backwards from there, and then we look at what sort of money we will need to achieve these goals. And I mean, it's not always possible that we are 100% correct with our estimate of money needed. So we put in some contingencies as well, a little bit of padding, and then we try to plug in our revenue. And when we plug in our revenue as well, we try and take sort of conservative estimates to it. Something on the lines of, what if we are only able to hit 50% of what we plan to hit, right? Some unforeseen circumstance comes and we're only able to hit 20% of it. So we model multiple.
Dilip, you're on mute actually.
I think, yeah, I went on mute.
Yeah.
Sorry. So we try and go with the average case. So that gives us the amount of money that we want to raise. Now, with respect to setting valuation, we try and look at how much we are okay diluting. There's multiple ways of arriving at valuation on paper. Like you could use a DCF, or I think something called NCP. There are multiple ways of doing this. But when you're talking to investors with early stage startups, it's mostly your conviction and how you're able to negotiate with your investor. So the way we did it was to go by how much we are okay diluting and what future plans we have. Are we raising a Series A, Series B? How much equity do we want to keep when we're raising the Series A? So these are the things we looked at, worked backwards from there, and said, okay, I'm okay diluting X percentage in this round. And what valuation does that put me at? Okay, it is 10 crores. Can I defend a 10 crore valuation with what all I've achieved today? So there's some adjustment that comes there saying, okay, maybe I cannot defend 10 crores. So can we do 8? In that case, how much are we going to dilute? So it's just things like this we look at, and then we talk to the investors and we're very upfront and frank with them, saying, look, I don't want to dilute more than 15% in this round, because even after you come on board, you're in it for the long game, right? There should be something in it for all of us at the end of the day when we're winding up or when we're liquidating, exiting. So if you want all of us to have skin in the game and do well, this is what we have on offer for you. And some investors take it, some don't take it, and that's how it goes. Specific to Shark Tank, if people are having questions of I think somebody else messaged me the other day as well on Instagram saying, did you come with a bloated valuation? No, I don't think we went there with a bloated valuation. We asked for about 60 crores valuation when we went there. We think that's what we are valued at today. We ended up with a 35 crore valuation because that was what we had given out in a previous round of investment, and we did not want to go lower than that. We see strategic value that these sharks add, so we were okay giving it to them at the previous valuation, because with them on board we can do a lot more, and it broadens our options. But no, there was no bloated valuation there. So multiple aspects in it. I think too short a time to go into all of it right now.
I see Samskriti wanted to add something.
Yeah, I just wanted to say about the valuation. I think that part of TV is realistic. At the end of the day, running a startup is so risky that the valuation is mostly about that negotiation that you're having with investors, your own conviction in what you're okay giving, whether that is okay for them, and running that conversation to get a win-win outcome for both parties on the table. That's about it. Can you find a win-win outcome with that person? Great. Then your deal goes through. Otherwise it doesn't, because and so I don't think there's any fair or unfair valuation. People don't randomly come up and say, I'll give you money at this valuation or whatnot. So it's up to you. How do you structure the deal? How do you make it fair for everybody involved? And that boils down to the negotiation skills at the end of the day.
One thing
yes, please go on.
Sorry, just one thing I wanted to add around the investment part. See, investment is end of the day again selling your company and convincing someone to believe in something that you believe in, right? And one of the ways this investment itself can go better is at least when you're raising your first round or your early round where your MVP is not ready or your market fit is not there. So at that point, one good strategy is to have a lead investor. What this means is like you convince one person who's completely bought into your idea, into you as founders. And when that person goes out and pitches to other person on your behalf saying, hey, I believe in this guys and I'm taking my bet on these people. And these are the reasons why I'm taking my bet. So it becomes other people to kind of, or rather the story sounds more convincing for other people coming from another investor than you, and it eases your process and efforts of fundraising. So finding that right strategic lead investor right in your first round is kind of very important.
Yeah, to be honest, I personally thought that mathematically speaking, I think not only did you not come with a bloated valuation, I thought your valuation should have been higher. That is my thought process. Given the stage of the company that you are in, plus, given that I'm in the space for some time, technically speaking, you've actually undervalued, if not overvalued, So to everyone, asking that question, I think they were on the other end of the spectrum, not this side. So that's that. With that, let's move. Also it's 7:06, so we are running short of time as well. What we're gonna do is we're gonna move to the last part of that, which was the hardware side. Seth, I really want you to lead this is specifically in that. Tell me what's the thought process that goes for a 0 to 1, specifically for a hardware product. Is it different versus a software product? If yes, how? If no, why?
So fundamental thing that is different in hardware than software is the fact that the repeatability, right? In software, you develop the product once and just put it on the Play Store. Everybody can download and can have it. But in hardware, the one of the main things that makes it truly difficult is the fact that you don't have to just develop the product once, but you have to ensure that every time it's manufactured in the right way, in the correct way, so that every iteration or every unit of your product that is out there in the market works perfectly fine. So the quality becomes a very big kind of overhead that you need to take care of. So that really changes the game. Other than that, I think most skill that is needed to develop a hardware product is something I'm sure you can learn on the go. There's nothing new to it. There's nothing kind of like a rocket science. But yeah, there are certain challenges when you are building something which is very unique. When you are really, building something deep tech or developing some new technology that does not exist. So in that case, I would say give yourself some time. Like the development cycles in hardware are definitely longer than in software, and a lot of time things won't work. You think that you understand everything, you understand the schematics, you understand the design, the mechanism. You think everything will come out as per your tolerance limits, etc. But end of the day, things might not work, and a lot of time you won't even understand why they're not working, and it's gonna be just frustrating. So, but yeah, I think just try the number of iterations as you can to finally crack it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. No, absolutely. All right. So this leads me to sort of my probably the penultimate question, depending on how time takes us. Is that if there's been a consistent theme in your story, it's the theme of grants, awards, fundraisers, going all the way right up to Shark Tank. At the center of this sits a pitch, and a pitch is nothing but a story. And good pitch requires a very solid storytelling, which is basically backed by numbers, and that's what my theory is. And my pitches to investors, at least, they are not pitches per se, so much as business talks, but more of a fictional, like an entertaining story, where I'm just trying to take them along with the journey and on the vision that we are on. Obviously, this has to be backed by numbers. So the question is, this is for Sanskriti. You've done many pitches, and I've seen your pitch evolve, actually. And I've seen your pitch evolve from your second year or the third year that you and Aman were about to go to Canada. I remember we were sitting outside, I think, what is it, Monji at that time? We sort of, I think, preparing the pitch, and we were sitting there getting feedback, all the way up to we're in London when you were also about, sort of preparing your deck, and all the way up to Shark Tank, where you must have obviously had like 100 revisions and iterations of your pitch. My question to you is, what is there a process you follow to your storytelling? What are the ingredients that you put into to come up with a good pitch?
Okay. So one, I think the pitch is also a collective effort. I think I'm great at pitching, but writing that story is usually a lot of other people as well. Usually it is Aman, and for Shark Tank, we'd actually taken the help of a great ad professional. Mm-hmm. So because Hindi is not my forte. So the way I can talk in English, I would never be able to come up with stuff in Hindi if I had not practiced it properly. So that is one. Second, I think audience is very important to the success of any pitch, because what works with one audience, the criteria for success vary differently. So studying your audience, figuring out, I think that is also very similar to product design in a way. You are creating something that you're going to deliver to someone, and you know how you want to make them feel when they hear it. So how you solving for how they feel, what they think next. You want to present that clear next steps. And if it's an elevator pitch, 2 to 3 minutes, I will say, because there's a lot of budding startups in the audience today. Your first pitch is not going to get you the money. That only ever happens on Shark Tank. Your first pitch is going to get you the next meeting. And so that how to make someone curious about, hey, you know what, this person is building something really great. I think that also came out in some of the episodes on Shark Tank, where people are saying, hey, you know what, I don't really get your company or your market, but you as a person are inspiring, and therefore I invest. In reality, no one makes that investment decision that quick. So in a pitch, more than anything else, you're pitching yourself, you as a person. What are you going to do? What dreams are you building? Are you capable of following through and building those dreams in reality? I think if you ask me what is the one process I consistently follow across the years, it is to ensure that before I go into pitch, I am the best version of myself. That is something I've always tried to follow. It could be your motivational song playlist. It could be a chat with your co-founder. It could be anything, but ensuring that you are on top of your game, that is the one consistent process. Know your audience, stick to time, and put in things that will, elicit questions from the audience. That one is also really, really important.
Yes.
If I give off every bit of information in the first go, I love that people have so many questions because people are interested. So that's great. I'm sure we'll have like 10 follow-up conversations stemming from today's meeting, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So pepper it with points for questions that you know the answer to. And I think at the bottom of it, really, really, really try and understand the person on the other side. The better you do that, I won't say that's just about pitching. In general, a lot of life and relationships and business will hinge on that. How well can you understand the motivations of the person on the other side? So same goes for pitching, really.
Awesome. Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I think it's your story needs to be peppered with ebbs and flows. It's almost like music in some sense, you know. You have your highs, you have your lows, and you have to time it perfectly. And then just drop in a little dangling preposition where, you know, oh, that's a catch. I want to ask a question on that. It's in fact a good pitch is plant questions is what I've heard as well. That being said, I think I just got a message from Himanshu. Yes, it seems like we are almost out of time. And Himanshu, brother, it's whatever the next steps are. Are we going to take questions from people?
I guess we can take few questions from audience, one-on-one conversation. Yeah. But before that, I know the spotlight today is completely on Thinkable Lab team, but I would like to take few minutes to thank Jatin Bhaiya. So as Dilip said, it's the Spider-Man thing, that BITSian. I texted him, can you moderate, please? And he was like, yeah, sure. And within minutes, he got ready. So thank you so much for that. And I guess now we can start with one question. And I got a very funny question, I'll say, but you guys completely okay to dodge that question if you don't want to. But the question goes like, in business argument, does the married couple have an edge over the other two folks?
I love this question. Please not that. You have to answer it. Absolutely have to. For everyone on the call who don't know, so Aman and Sanskriti, they're married. And so yeah, hence this question.
I'd just like to say the company is 5.5 years old. The marriage is barely 1 year old. So I don't know.
Which one do you think? Which one do you think?
I would love to hear Aman's thoughts on that.
Yeah, before
on this statement of Sanskriti's.
I would like to hear the question again.
Yeah, very, very nicely dodged, Aman. But I am free all day. I can repeat the question.
I think Saif will write a thesis on this soon, so would love to hear from him.
So, I mean, one thing I would say is being co-founder in itself means that you're kind of married to each other. So 4 of us kind of like are in a marriage. In a sense that we spend a lot of our time together, not just professionally, but as friends.
Look at Sanskriti's expressions. My God.
Actually, I'm waiting for the 3 of them to come to my house immediately after this call.
I mean, yeah.
There's masala dosa waiting for them.
Guys, are you in Bangalore right now?
Yeah, we're all in Bangalore.
All right, I am also coming then.
Please come.
For sure.
So yeah, it's a funny question. I don't think marriage has any edge over here. Like I said, Dilip and I haven't particularly noticed that aspect.
Yeah, if it's supposed to have an edge, please tell me. I would also like to know.
Sanskriti wants to have that strategy of having an edge.
Is there a con to this though? As in, because the same 2 people in the company as well, and in a marriage as well. Do you think, like, on a more serious note, do you think there's a sort of a negative factor to that as well, or that doesn't really matter too?
वो college में खत्म हो गया था. Like I used to spend most of my second, third year with them, and for a lot of time I felt like I was in the 3rd week. So that was the only con. But other than that, I think it's as we come in as individuals, we add our inputs as individuals. So I
I'd like
don't
to
think there's any
add
con.
though, at home, like outside of work, it
Yeah.
takes significant effort to drive that separation between personal and professional. So, for example, Aman and I only text each other on Slack about work, and that's a rule we've learned the hard way. So yeah, creating those separate channels for separate parts of our lives is something we've done very, very consciously. And it takes some work, but I wouldn't say it's a con because, hey, I get to work with my favorite person every day. So I'm very happy about that.
I probably wouldn't be wrong if I said Aman and Sanskriti disagree the most professionally.
Okay.
I think they're very different styles of working, which is great because they bring two very different sides to most things that we do.
Yeah.
So I don't think that has changed pre and post marriage.
That I think speaks of the majority of the relationship.
Yeah, I think I just wanted to add, what Sanskriti said about separation, that is something we struggled with a lot, like over the years, because you do tend to take stress from your work, then you bring it home. And that's the most common thing that we used to fight about all the time, because our work discussions would involve us being on the other sides very often. So I think that's something we worked on.
I think that's the answer of why the company is 5.5 years old and the marriage is only 1 year old. We had to figure that shit out before we got married.
Yeah.
I like how your priorities are sorted.
There's a small con to being married for women. I have had throughout as well, when people assume we're together, they assume that I am not in charge because I am someone's partner. That is absolutely a con. It infuriates me, but also it is a big, very clear filter on people that I want to work with, that Thinkerbell Labs wants to work with. So yeah, that is an absolute con. You'll meet these people constantly. And the one thing you thank them for is telling you very clearly upfront, saying they're not worth working with. So yeah, it gets frustrating sometimes, but I mean, I have great co-founders who show me in 50,000 examples every day that that's not my actual work environment, and that I have the choice to not work with such people. So that's really great.
Sanskriti, I want to actually give the platform to you for the next 2 minutes and just talk to all the girls out on this call right now about the struggles or how do you deal with being a woman founder? Because I'm sure, because I don't understand that. And to be very honest, I think Aman is the closest to understanding that, but I'm sure Aman and Dilip and Seth also don't really understand that. And I want you to take the stage for like the next 2 minutes and just talk to all the women out there on this call.
All right. Thanks, Ratin. So I think first off, women have 2-3 ways in which they're impacted by the sexism. So the first and foremost thing, I think you need internal work to not let the constant rubbish chatter of sexism get to you, because it is all pervasive across every level of society. It will be the watchman that you meet to the top boss of some company that you want to strike a deal with, and you'll meet such people everywhere. So somewhere internally, you have to have your voice that is stronger than whatever rubbish society is saying. Second, I think this is really important. You pick your surroundings. You pick the people you want to live with. You pick the people you're friends with. You pick the people you want to work with. I think this is so important for women, perhaps more so because, I mean, as men, I'm sure you guys have a lesser incidence of a discouraging environment that you face. I say this not from my own experience. I think I've been incredibly, phenomenally lucky to have an extremely supportive family, both before and after marriage. So I truly believe I'm in the very privileged class, because I have friends, I have heard plenty of experiences from people for whom the opposition starts at home. So that's a really tough one to get over. So, surround yourself with people who are good for you. Sometimes that is a very hard decision to take in terms of environment. That is one. Second, even especially when it comes to entrepreneurship, that's a choice that you make. So I'm a part of actually this community that Y Combinator itself started for women entrepreneurs called Alpha. I love reading the discussions on that. It's the more wholesome, amazing, helpful version of Hacker News. Please go join it. I love it because I have never contributed, but I love reading about people's experience, and it's so good. And I think my favorite piece of advice from a women entrepreneur, I don't even know who she is, but someone had posted on that forum about this part of sexism, saying that fortunately, in the 21st century, the world and the universe of people who don't see you as any lesser because you're a woman is sufficiently large that you can live an extremely successful, fulfilling life without having to, convert some people to finally seeing your worth because you finally performed well enough, etc. You can simply choose not to interact with such people, and you can make your own destiny. And as an entrepreneur, that is the choice you make every day. So that's what I personally love about entrepreneurship, that I'm not forced into structures where people underestimate me. So yeah, I love that. And also for the really stubborn people, I have co-founders who, if someone says, acha, I've literally had them say, oh, you are the wife, no? So who's your real boss? Where is your real boss? So
and this is the 21st century.
This is the 21st century. And I mean, anyone who knows me knows that I'm literally the most bossy person in this entire 300 people. So it is very jarring, but ultimately you refocus yourself on the people that are worth it, because that world is big enough. That's all.
Makes sense. No, absolutely. Thank you so much, Sanskriti, for saying this. I think there are a couple of people in the chat as well who mentioned this. I think this question, this is important conversation, and it's good that we are having this conversation. And I'm glad that there are people like you who are now reaching a level where they can now speak with other such women who are also in the struggle, also in the face. So that's great. All right, we have exactly 7 minutes before there's a hard cutoff. So I'm going to take up 2 video questions. Anyone, switch on your video, switch on your mic, and shoot a question. I can see. Hello, Pranav. Pranav, you're on mute. Yes. Can you unmute yourself? Oh, Himanshu, can you unmute the people?
Yeah, I have asked.
Hello, am I audible?
Yep, perfect. Okay.
So I wanted to ask, like, in what at what time in your college did you figure out that this is something which I want to do?
End of 3rd year. I think someone asked on chat, what is NVC? NVC is the course on campus called New Venture Creation. I think Mridula ma'am handles still. So she's been personally a great mentor, sounding board, teacher really for how to run a startup, how to make that decision, even whether you like it that much.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I have my full credits for, even I was in NVC, started RecoPro, a hardware product as all credits to Mridula ma'am for supporting through that, and in the second venture as well, Spenny also. Which year is NVC offered in? NVC is offered, I think, across the years. You can choose to be a part of NVC at any point in time. It's an elective, basically.
I think second years weren't allowed, if I'm not wrong.
No, this time even second year is allowed. And for more information, you can text anyone in CEL or even ma'am.
Right.
I remember I somehow made it through. I was in your classroom, Ratan, if you remember, with Enorgo.
You were a part of Enorgo.
Yeah, so
Yes.
I somehow made it through, and they weren't taking second year rights. And Abhishek went to ma'am and said, "I don't have anybody, please." And I somehow made it through. It's for being one of my favorite courses.
That's your honey badger story.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
But good to see they change the rules. Sorry, come again.
Break the rules.
Totally.
Yeah, Ratin, also just to add, Mridula ma'am was very happy when you guys mentioned NVC on Shark Tank, and she was going to moderate today's session, but she's down with COVID. So let's hope she gets well very soon, and we have an offline meet with her soon.
Yeah, all best wishes to her as well, for sure. She's been a rock. She's been a support, rock solid support for all the entrepreneurs from BITS Goa. Right. Last question. We are 7:26. All right, we can take a couple more quickly. Anyone switch on your video and then we'll start the question. All right. I thought we had a lot of questions.
I think few people have raised their hands. So.
Yeah, please go ahead. Sifat and Yash. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Himanshu, can you unmute them, please?
I have asked them to unmute themselves.
All right. Sifat and Yash, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, hi. I don't have a webcam actually in my laptop.
Yeah.
So it's just a funny question actually. I remember Ashneer suggesting that you could incorporate it into a business model like a per hourly basis. So, like, what angle do you see towards it? Like, I mean, what would possibly be an opportunity towards something like that? Because I think it has more outreach, especially in India.
Absolutely. I think that's a great point. We're definitely, I think, for hardware, getting a recurring business model is the holy grail. That said, the customers that we work with and clients that we work with B2B clients and government clients. Neither businesses nor governments will pay for an impact product by the hour. So there is still some ecosystem maturity that needs to come in within the assistive tech space to make that feasible. And that's something we definitely have on the cards. We've already, I think, with any smart class itself, the current model, that itself was unthinkable earlier, saying, oh, smart class in a blind school. So there are always government officials who will also take that leap with you to make a new idea succeed. It takes a lot of time, and you need to, we need to be patient about it. That's all.
Thanks.
Awesome. All right, we're going to take the last question. Yash, if you can unmute yourself, please. Okay, Yash, can you hear us? Anyway, if you can just type your question in the chat, I think we can, somebody from Thinkerbell Labs can pick it up. All right, we have Shivangi. Shivangi, just unmute yourself, please.
Hi, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Hey, hi, Sharks. Sorry, not Sharks. Co-founder.
Hi, Sharks.
Sorry.
Sharks, will you please invest in Shivangi startup, please? Sharks,
We'll give
so
you an
actually,
offer.
we have a deal, Sharks.
I'm a big fan of assistive tech, and I'm actually doing a thesis in rehabilitation robotics in the coming semester. I wanted to know, did you find any industry mentors or university lab mentors for developing such devices? Where did you get the technical knowledge for everything?
I'd like to mention Dr. Neena Govias for on-campus mentors.
Oh,
Dilip, Aman, I and Seth, all of us did projects and thesis with Neena ma'am while we were developing the different stages of our product. And so she really helped us out with that. I mean, there's two kinds of mentors who sort of pave your path and make it easy for you to focus on what you need to do. And in terms of assistive tech itself, I think in academia in India, you'll find IIT Delhi has a very flourishing assistive tech lab. So that's within the academia domain. Other than that, I mean, startups are a whole different race. So depends on what you're looking for.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that. Like, I think a lot of our initial research publications as well helped, because wherever we went, that we found a lot of great people there as well. Especially with respect to feedback, other researchers who were doing great work. So that sort of becomes a great sounding board as well.
Great. All right. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you especially to all the co-founders of Thinkerbell Labs. Congratulations on the great journey and all the best for whatever that lies ahead. And I can see so many more questions as well. So what we're going to do is I'm going to request the Thinkable team to just each one of them leave your either your Twitter handle or your LinkedIn sort of handle, whatever you prefer, in the chat, so that people can reach out to you on Twitter or LinkedIn. My LinkedIn is always spammed with too many so I don't prefer basically I prefer Twitter more. So yeah. Aman has already put his coordinates. Please, if you can, the other three can put there. So you all, everyone, if you have any other questions, please do feel free to reach out to them. I'm speaking on their behalf, but I assume they're okay with that. But I think they're great people. They will answer your questions. And yes, so that's that. I'll also, just in case, I'm putting down my handle as well. So in case you have any other questions, you can reach out to me as well. And that's that's about it. Thank you so much for joining. I think throughout the session, we had almost 250 plus people at any point in time. Even now we have 185. It's been a long session already. So going to wrap this up. Thank you so much. Thanks, Himanshu, for giving us the platform, and great chatting with these guys.
Thank you for coming, everyone. So today happens to be National Youth Day. So someone asked me to do this. So I found it like a very good suggestion. So if you wanted to wrap this with a single line of suggestions to everyone present here or anyone in their youth age, what it would be, everyone, including you, Ratanvir. Just one line. Like you can take more, but
I'm gonna let Sanskriti start that.
Okay. My favorite piece of advice that I received from college senior was don't have a plan B.
Aman.
I would say solve a problem for a large number of people that others have overlooked, that will ensure that you learn the fastest and the most. So yeah.
Dilip, if you can.
Sanskriti stole my line. But I think I'll say there's a lot to do with the journey itself. So pick the right people and enjoy the journey as much as you can.
Yeah, I think I'll go with again what I heard from a senior in college. So it goes like, always be happy, but never be satisfied. So always try to work for more.
This is a pretty philosophical. My this thing which I also follow always is that fuck shit up. Always fuck shit up. Just go places and mess everything and just kick around and then let things happen. That's my 3-word thing. Yeah.
Thanks for these amazing piece of advice. And just the last thing, lots of love to Pratmesh. I have been constantly receiving texts from people. So someone even asked me why he isn't here. I thought he's on the team or he's one of the founders. So lots of love to him. He's gonna be a great influencer soon. And thank you everyone for joining. Thank you the audience to staying around and asking such lovely questions. Hope to do such sessions more. Yeah, thank you everyone. We'll end this up now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And wishing all the best to any budding entrepreneur that is there in the session. So have a good one there. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.